Hello. Hi, everyone. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. Welcome to the Open Door Legal Gala. Woo! Yes, this year we are celebrating a decade of access. That's 10 years of free legal aid to our communities in San Francisco. Over the last 10 years, woo! Yeah, that's right. Love it. I love that energy. Table 1, I think. Yeah. Over the last 10 years, we have doggedly worked to close the justice gap on behalf of everyone in San Francisco. Our work is mainly with low-income residents in San Francisco, communities of color, and we've had the privilege of empowering over 3,200 individuals and families to assert their rights, and we will not stop doing this work until the law belongs to all of us.
That's right.
That's right. Yeah. Ooh, I'm fired up. But first, I want to introduce my colleague. He is 2-time ODL Olympics champion, long-time Western Addition community member / royalty, Hakika Drisker. Yes, yes. He is a loving father, and he currently works as a frontline partner with us at Open Door Legal. He welcomes guests and helps assuage all the fears of the community. Frontline partners are the very first advocates for anyone who walks in our doors or who calls, and so they do the very most, and he can hit a golf ball 300 yards. Yeah, whoa. Big time, yeah.
Hey, thank you, Whitney. And this is Whitney too, ODL's, I call it a pearly gatekeeper, because whenever somebody comes into Open Door Legal, she's very warm, welcoming, and lighthearted. You know, she's a comedic genius. And she's also the director of talent and culture, or should I say the angel of talent and culture.
I'm okay with that, yeah.
Well, she facilitates a lot of the meetings and keeps us all together. She listens to what the staff wants and needs and really tries to make it happen. Last year, she read 70 books, is that right? 70 books in 7 months. So I would say she's officially a human library.
Thank you.
Whitney, cool pen.
Oh, thanks. What? I like it. I like yours too.
Oh, thank you.
Why do we have these?
Well, as you may know, we have a lot of superstars here, and this pen is representative of our superstars who work here at Open Door Legal, and if they're wearing one, they will be happy to talk to you about anything about Open Door Legal, and also if you're having issues with technology for giving, you can ask them or they can help find somebody who can help you.
Yes, they will help you. And thank you so much again for coming. This night would not be possible without our sponsors. So thank you to our friend sponsors, Crowell and Mooring LLP, Wolford Wayne, and Magic Cabinet. Our neighborhood sponsors, Dropbox, Epic Church, Rennie Public Law Group, Day Spring Partners, Kirkland and Ellis LLP, and Tenant Law Group.
Yes,
Yeah, applause. Thank you, truly, yes.
And also our community sponsors, Good Paper, Davis, Polk, and Wardwell, Chartiz Fries, LLP, Wilson, Sonsini, Goodrich, and Rosati. And finally, to our value sponsor, AppLovin. We truly appreciate your generosity and support for our work.
Yes, thank you so much.
Okay, so here's the thing. We have a totalizer. It keeps track of how much money we've raised in real time. It will be displayed here on a screen for us to monitor as we move forward to our goal of $350,000. Each frame represents all the families that we've been able to help and that's been able to work with us over the last 10 years. You can see we're starting off already with $44,913.88. Thanks to your generous donations that have come ahead of the gala. When the time comes, you'll get a text message that I have a link if you're already done so, you can enter your payment information at that link. Some of you will be making pledges to fulfill at a later time. If you do, you can go to opendoorlegal.org/pledge and fill those out. Again, if you want to make a pledge tonight that you'll fulfill later, go to opendoorlegal.org/pledge and fill out the form, and we're very grateful for every dollar that you've donated tonight.
Yay, thank you. All right, well, we have a bunch of great stories tonight. So right now, we'd like to start with one of them, and we'd like to invite up Brandon Leahy. Brandon is an award-winning attorney at Wilson Sonsini, and applause. And is also one of the newest members of our board of directors. His commitment to providing access to justice made a huge difference in the life of one of our clients, Lynette, whose story you'll hear shortly. So please welcome up Brandon and Susie.
Thank you, Whitney. Hi, everyone. So during law school, most of us are focused on achieving good grades and preparing for the bar exam. We might have entered with vague intentions of using our law degree to make a positive impact on society, but it's arcane legal principles like the rule against perpetuities that tend to keep us up at night. At least that was my experience. There were others at my law school, however, who were already pioneering the country's first ever system of universal access to legal representation. I went to law school with Adrian in Virginia and was aware of their efforts as the organization was first getting off the ground. I thought it was an ambitious effort to meet a real need in the community, and I could tell the team was passionately pursuing it, but I didn't have any idea how it would ultimately turn out. I certainly didn't know that 10 years later, it would be providing legal services to hundreds of clients annually throughout San Francisco. Several years after law school, I reconnected with Adrian in Virginia and began taking on cases pro bono. That's how I met Lynette Mackey. My former Wilson Sonsini colleague, Susie Lichter, is here with me. Susie and I were honored to get to work with Lynette, who, like many of ODL's clients, blew us away with how well prepared she was in terms of record keeping and detailing the facts necessary to help pursue her case. Lynette had meticulous documentation of her many efforts to get redress for the wrongs that were done to her and her family. By the time we got involved, ODL had already filed a complaint on Lynette's behalf. With the support of our law firm and Tara McComber, one of ODL's fantastic staff attorneys, we were ultimately able to achieve a great result for Lynette. It was the 5th such case that our firm has handled with Open Door Legal. A lot of problems in the city can feel intractable, but it can be reassuring to know that there are stewards of the community like Open Door Legal that are making a regular impact in helping people improve their lives. In this case, through the impact of access to quality legal representation and working to make San Francisco a safer and more equitable city for all. Before engaging with Open Door Legal, I understood the importance of access to justice in an abstract way. Now I can see it reflected in the faces of people I know, people like Lynette. Let's now hear directly from Lynette about how Open Door Legal has made a difference in her life.
My name is Lynette Mackey. I was on a vacation and I had a babysitter here, and she called and she said there was a flood coming up from the bathtub, but the carpets were all soaking wet. When I walked in the door and I stepped on carpet, a splash of brown feces all on the wall. And I walked into the bathroom and there were feces everywhere, in all of my personal stuff, and all over the walls, all over the bathtub. And I immediately grabbed my kids and I left. When I first got the hotel room, the apartment said they were not going to cover it. And then I called the Department of Public Health and they came out and said that it was unlivable and it was hazardous, and they could not return until it was repaired. So they said, okay, so we'll cover you for 5 days. We stayed there about 3 months. Once they cut the ground open and were repairing it, the rats were coming up from underground. So rats got in my unit. They were in the walls, they were in the closet, they were everywhere. They didn't want to repair it. They wanted to say that I was living in filth. I had a room with a lot of stuff because I'm a foster mom. I have kids coming in and out. I have emergency kids. Open Door Legal happened to be right across the street from my house. So I just happened to go in there nosy, like, what do you do here? And he said, we're a law office. And I was like, I need a lawyer. He said, we're for the community. He said, well, you need to fill out the form online. Of course, I didn't do that. And then I ran into him again in the McDonald's right across the street. He reminded me that I didn't fill out that form. And after that, I went home and I filled out the form. The next day, I got a phone call. And at that point, they had decided that I had a case and that they would take it.
Lynette first brought her case to me. First she just started speaking about her property damage and the things that were damaged. And once I saw the pictures and I heard the story, I was shocked that she had her 4 foster kids living in feces for 4 days and nobody was doing anything to help her. And then also I was even more shocked that at that point when she asked for a hotel for a per diem day, which are actual laws that they have to provide it, that they were refusing to help her or they were giving her as little as possible in terms of assistance.
There's a lot of problems with how they treat below market rate tenants. They want to treat us below market rate.
They finally gave me a big no, we're not going to give you what basically your client was entitled to. So at that point, Brandon and Suzanne with Wilson and Sonsini were looking for a pro bono opportunity. And so we spoke and I showed them the evidence and they were equally as outraged as I was about the case and about what Lynette was enduring and the harassment she had to face. So they came on as co-counsels. By showing them everything that happened to Lynette, we were able to get a very favorable settlement, which I think has been able to change Lynette's life and her family's life.
Prior to Tara stepping in, I was in fear. Now I have stability. Now I have some comfort. If I wouldn't have had legal representation, I probably would be fighting for the eviction by now.
So I think having access to the law is the best way that we can advocate for our community and give them an ability to enforce all their rights.
Not everyone in my community knows of legal help or know that they can have legal help or know how to go get legal help. I want to help them to know that there is help and we can get it in this community. That's a goal of mine.
All right, come on. Thank you.
Thank
Good
you
to
so
see
much.
you again. Good to see you again. Hey, Lynette. Who is this you have with you?
This is my grandson. This is Darius.
Hey, Darius.
Say hi.
Darius, can I ask you something? What do you remember about the night where your house was all messed up?
I was disgusted.
Can't hear you.
It was disgusting
was
because
disgusting.
I had to walk in it.
Well, what do you like now about your house? About your new house?
I'm okay with it.
Well, we want to thank you both for being here tonight. Lynette, it's so good to see you again.
Thank you so much. And I have to give you a shout out because when she introduced and said you're the first point of contact, that's so real. Because if you know, like I know, to go home and get on the internet and fill out the form, no one wants to do that. That was like, okay. And then when I saw you again and you mentioned it, I was like, let me go home and fill out this form because I know I need some help. So I want to thank you for that. That's how I got where I got. And I want to thank you.
You're very welcome. So, hey, if you want to support more families like Lynette and Darius, now's a great chance. Right now, we're asking everyone to test out their phones or their way of giving and just give $20. You can text ACCESS to 325-603-3395, and let's see what happens when we all give just $20.
Thank you, yes. While we're waiting for the text messages to go into the air and around, I don't know how phones work. Here's a fun fact. Attorneys generally charge anywhere between $400 and $800 an hour, yet almost 70% of our clients earn less than $35,000 a year, and they live in San Francisco.
Well, because of this, about 2/3 of low-income people in California who have legal issues like Lynette, who try to get help, will be turned away. But with your help, we plan to build the country's first system of universal access to legal care. Yeah, go ahead and clap. Thank you. We estimate our total cost to serve the Mackey family to be just over $4,000. Our costs were kept low thanks to the incredible volunteer work of Brandon and Susie. And with that small investment, you all have ensured that they will have a safe, habitable place to live.
Can I share something? Prior to going to Open Door Legal, I contacted a couple of attorneys throughout that battle before I winded up with Open Door Legal. And one attorney said, "Oh, you have an excellent case, but I don't have time." And another attorney said he didn't think it was worth the fight. So thank you guys so much for fighting for me and my family.
Oh, of course. Amazing. All right, everyone. Thanks for giving that a try and for giving. This sounds like a great time for us to check out, our totalizer and see how our family photo wall is looking. Let's see. Let's check it out. What's that? Whoa!
Okay.
Yeah. I like that. I see you, little dog. Oh, look at that cute family. Way to go. Thank you, everyone, so much for joining in and giving. And now we'd like to invite up Amelia Cortez, who is our incredible family law paralegal. She advocates while also being a very important trust builder for our Spanish-speaking clients. So Amelia is going to share about a case recently that was close to her heart. So thank you, Amelia. Come on up. Yay!
Hi, everybody. Good evening. My name is Emilia, and I'm a family law paralegal here with Open Door Legal. Growing up in Guatemala, my mother always emphasized the importance of education. Unfortunately, she was never able to finish her last year of college. My dad passed away when I was 10 years old, and she had to support me and my older sibling on her own. She had to work 2 jobs at once and really struggled. She rarely had time for us. I had family living in the United States, and when I was in high school, they asked me if I wanted to come over. I didn't want to go. My family and friends were in Guatemala. But when I turned 17, my mother told me that she couldn't afford to send me to college. She said that I had to decide that I could go to the US or I needed to get a job. So I decided to prove my mom wrong. I was like, I could stay in Guatemala, go to college, and work at the same time. But in Guatemala, it is very difficult to do both, especially if you're a woman. I tried working at a call center, but it turned out to be a toxic work environment, and I decided to leave. I came to the US when I was 18 years old with an international student visa, and I attended community college and found a job as a legal assistant at a boutique law firm. They supported me in getting my paralegal certificate at UC Berkeley, but after 10 years of work in firms, I decided that I wasn't fulfilled. It was all just paperwork, and I didn't have a chance to work directly with the clients. I quit and 2 months off, and that's when Open Door Legal reached out to me. When I talked with Whitney, I thought, is this the call that I've been waiting for? I've been working directly with the community, with people who speak my own language, with immigrants like me. It sounds like a great deal. I gave it a shot, and guess what? I loved it. Because I ended up with working with clients, like if I felt like I had a connection. And because of this, I'm eager to do my best to support them with whatever they need. That connection was entirely new to me in the legal profession. And that brings me to the Colmenares. They came up in for an intake in 2021 where I was asked to interpret.
Yo vine a Open Door Legal buscando ayuda para obtener la custodia legal de mi nieta. La madre murió y mi hijo vive en México. Mi nieta se sentía preocupada por no saber quién iba a obtener su custodia, por la razón de llegar a una casa foster donde ella no conociera a nadie.
Needed immediate help, getting psychotherapy to help her process her mother's death and get into school, but nobody would work with the Colmenares because they didn't have guardianship. They were so scared to move forward with the guardianship process that they live in the country for decades but are not documented. They were scared of losing everything they had built if they moved forward with this process. When the guardianship was,
Y nosotros preocupados sobre la salud y la educación de ella. Es mi sangre, no me puedo imaginar qué es lo que hubiera pasado, no pasa por mi cabeza. Busqué varias organizaciones y no obtuve ninguna respuesta. Hasta que llegué aquí a Open Door, como dice el nombre, me abrieron las puertas para ayudar. Los abogados siempre se comunicaron conmigo en mi idioma y siempre fueron respetuosos y siempre se vieron interesados en resolver y ayudarme para obtener la custodia de mi nieta.
It was approved. They reacted like, I can't believe this is happening to us. Everyone cried. Finally, they had the legal right to be a family. I'm so honored to be a part of amazing stories like this. I don't think I would have this experience at any other place, and I would never trade it for anything else.
Mi sueño para Annalisa sería en un futuro verla seguir con sus estudios, la universidad, ser una persona independiente, con valores, pues agradecida de lo que la vida le brindó. Es algo que espero la fortalezca para ser más fuerte y posiblemente ayudar a otras personas que pasen lo mismo.
I want to see more of it. I want to see people believe they can achieve more things. I want to see people in my community, immigrants, and people who speak my language, fight for the rights that they deserve. That's why I believe in universal access and why I'm so glad to be a part of making this dream a reality. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you for that incredible, powerful story, Amelia. It illustrates the reality that often people come to us afraid, uncertain, confused, and in the midst of difficult crisis when they're looking for help. And building trust, especially in the family law, is the absolute foundation of our work. Alexis Collentine is the managing family law attorney who represented Letitia. She also represented our next client, Amat. Come on up.
Thanks, Akika. My earliest memories are of San Francisco. When I was about 1.5 years old, my family moved to an apartment near the Castro. Then, as now, it was a beautiful city and a city facing heartbreaking epidemics. Oh, I think a picture of me is coming at some point. But I loved growing up here. It felt more like a small town than a big city. And social justice was part of the fabric of life. There's me! There's the proof. Social justice was part of the fabric of life here. My family spent Easters at Glide Church, where people in recovery were brought up on stage to tell their stories and be celebrated with cheers from the congregation. I volunteered at Davies Hospital, where HIV positive and AIDS patients were treated with respect and inclusion, neither of which were the norm at the time. These experiences shaped me. After college, I worked at Head Start in Berkeley as a family advocate, assisting families with accessing much-needed services. But there were so many barriers that people, especially women, faced. I wanted to reduce these barriers. I wanted to learn to use the legal system to help people. So I became a family law attorney. I first found out about Open Door Legal by walking by our Excelsior office and seeing the sign that said, "Get legal help." I was intrigued by the storefront legal assistance model, and I wanted to know more. So I found out more. I ended up joining and eventually leading the family law team, and that's when I met Amat. So Amat fell in love with a man from Yemen. She herself was an immigrant from Palestine, having come to the country 20 years ago. Amat applied for a spousal visa for him, and her family pooled all their money together to sponsor him. But once he moved to the United States, things devolved quickly. He was extremely controlling and verbally abusive. He would constantly belittle her, tell her she was worthless, old, ugly. He then moved on to assaulting her, pushing her, pulled her hair, threw things at her. He even set up video cameras to secretly film her without her hijab. He said that if she ever crossed him, he would publicly share those images and bring shame upon her family. Eventually, Amat recognized the truth. He had simply used her to get a visa, and the abuse would continue. She tried to find help, but between sponsoring his visa and paying a private family attorney, she and her family were running out of money. So Amat did not want to be filmed for tonight's event, as you can imagine, but she did want to tell her story. So she is telling it to us in Arabic. And Gina Yen, an ODL volunteer, is here to interpret for us. Together closely to file a request for a restraining order. Together, we prevailed at a contested hearing. The court granted Amat sole custody of her child and issued a permanent restraining order protecting them both from her husband to prevent him from continuing to abuse them. But the story doesn't end there. Last year, our organization helped launch Proposition D here in San Francisco, creating the country's first right to civil counsel for all domestic violence survivors, like Amat. Yeah. And I ended up becoming the face of the campaign. I was in all the YouTube and Instagram ads, which was a little more exposure than I had signed up for. But then people started coming up to me at my kids' school, texting me, thanking ODL for our work, telling me they were going to vote for the proposition, which honestly felt amazing. I was part of creating change in a city that I love. So, here's the big picture. Research has found that civil legal services are the only effective way to reduce domestic violence. So I'm here to thank you for believing in our work, in the resilience of people like Amat, and in the belief that we can work towards a more just future where the law really does belong to all of us. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Alexis and Gina. That was really beautiful. Watching it not only reminds me of how courageous our clients are, but really how many people are involved in ensuring that we can tell these stories. Thinking about that, I'd like to thank Gina Yen again, who is a volunteer who interpreted for Amat. Thank you. Yes. And I know she isn't alone. We have had hundreds of community members volunteer with us over the years. In fact, I know you guys are all eating, but that's cool, we'll roll with it. In fact, if you're here and you're a volunteer, a fellow, or a law clerk with us in any capacity, or a pro bono partner, will you please stand? So we can look at you and acknowledge you. Yeah. Yeah, thank you so much. Stay standing. Stay standing. Thank you so much for spending your time working toward justice with us. Stay standing. I see you. I'm watching you. And if you are a donor to Open Door Legal, whether you've given $1 or more than that, you are very much a part of this work as well. Will you please stand? Everyone. Yeah. Yes. Oh my goodness.
There you go.
Wow, yeah, thank you. Oh my goodness, thank you so much. Stay standing, everyone stay standing. Sorry, whoa, I got a little shrill, my bad. And wait, you can stay standing. And are there any people who work for Open Door Legal here? Where's our staff? Where are you? We could not do it without you. You are crushing it. Everyone stand. Oh my goodness, thank you so much. Look at all of you who have invested in access to justice. What a good-looking group. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Whitney. You guys can sit down. And while you're sitting, thank you so much to all of you who have tried to donate tonight, tried a second time or a third time or a fourth time and gotten the same error message, because what's a fundraiser without a few technical difficulties? So we wanted to let you know we're going to roll with the punches a little bit. You can still make a pledge at the same link. And the place to make a donation tonight is going to be, you'll see on the slides, opendoorlegal.org/donate. So you can just go through our regular page, and we're going to be updating the totalizer manually ourselves. So I want to give a big shout out to Jess and Hannah and Sierra, to our whole team who is working hard to make it happen, and thank you to you all also for being here tonight. Thanks, Whitney.
Yes, thank you so much. Thanks everyone for, rolling with the punches. Isn't it so fun to come to an event where you're supposed to donate and just technical difficulties? No big deal.
It happens.
I know you tried. Thank you so much. There's really something just so powerful about being in this room with you tonight and seeing so many faces of people who've worked to close the justice gap. There are just so many people who simply need the ability to enforce their rights, to live their lives free from interference by bad actors. And that's what we're working toward tonight. Our goal for the evening is to raise $350,000 to help 175 families. On average, a case costs us somewhere in the neighborhood of $2,000 to $3,000. And I'm thrilled to announce that a generous donor is going to be matching every gift of $2,000 and above up to $100,000 tonight. Yeah, and that means that every gift of $2,000 or more will be doubled in impact. Whoa, let's do it. I know. That's a lot of math. I don't even know. So, again, we're not going to do the text message. We're going to go to opendoorlegal.org/donate. Or if you're going to give a pledge, it's opendoorlegal.org/pledge in order to make a pledge that you can fulfill at a later date. And, because we're going to be updating the totalizer with our fingies. Nope, I'm sorry I said that. Your gifts will show up. It just might take a moment.
Let me tell you about some other numbers, Whitney. The Colmenares case took a year to complete. Our team worked 71 hours to make sure Annalisa could remain with the caring guardians she had in Letitia and her husband. We estimate that the total cost to serve the Colmenares family to be about $4,500. Now, Amat's case took 43 hours and 4 months, and we estimate the total cost to help Amat obtain sole custody of her child and permanent restraining order to be about $2,800. Thanks to all of you, Amat is able to live without fear for the future of her family's safety.
Yeah, it's incredible. And over time, our work is far more cost-effective than any other safety net type of work. It produces long-term, life-changing results. And we can cover the cost of cases like Leticia's and Amat's cases right now. Should we see if we did it? Let's check.
Come on, let's check out that family photo wall. Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Woo!
Okay, let's see. Where we at? 2000. Okay, Grandma, I see you. 2018, little Keanu Reeves action going on there. Okay. Now, we're going to see the story of the Danielle siblings. They came to Open Door Legal when they lost their grandmother, who was the glue that held their family together. They were served an eviction notice at her funeral, and they had nowhere to go. Well, let's hear from them.
My name is Dr. Reginald Daniels. I'm a native of San Francisco, second generation. I'm a client of Open Door Legal, and I'm a professor at the University of San Francisco, where I teach a class on art and incarceration. We grew up in a small home in the Patrol Hill area in San Francisco. Very beautiful home in the sense that it's right on the apex of the hill and right across from a park that I grew up in.
My name is Naja Wanda Daniels. I go by Naj. I have an older brother. His name is Reggie Daniels. Think about walking in the door and smelling the roast beef and the greens, or just the spaghetti, just grandma's meals, one of grandma's meals, and putting my key in the door. And I would always hear my grandmother we have 2 flights of stairs. So before I get to the top of the first flight, "Is that you, Naj?" And I'm like, "Yeah, Grandma, it's me." And I always felt like that little 5-year-old kid running up the stairs no matter how old I was.
Yeah, so Grandma was the surrogate mom. She was our adopted parent, my sister and I. She took me to her home from birth. My grandparents did the best that they could to provide a really stable living situation. However, from time to time, I would go to live with my parents in between their addictions, where it was just the opposite. I lived in both homes, and both of those places resided inside of me, and it was at the point when I was a young teenager, I was a victim of a shooting. And for me, it was the turnover which led me into a life where I wanted to kind of figure out who I was on the street side. Fell into addiction, incarceration. It was a very difficult time. I spent the next 15 years of my life making it back to Grandma's house.
August of 2020, Grandma contracts COVID. She goes into the hospital. This was the longest 9 days of my life. She wanted to be let go. And so the nurse called us and told us that we would all have an opportunity to be on a FaceTime call with her, so she could hear us, she could see us, we could hear her, we could see her. And about 10 or 15 minutes into the call, after them removing the respirator, she took her last breath. After we got to tell her that we loved her and that we would be okay, through gritted teeth and probably lying, because I didn't know if I would be okay. But I let her go. And so we're processing, we're getting ready for the funeral. And then on the day of the funeral, the trustee contacts us and tells us that we have less than 90 days to move out.
So we had no time to grieve. We were very limited in resources and really didn't have the mental space or capacity at that moment to even begin to think about what moving would look like after living in that home for over 45 years.
So I was driving down 3rd Street and I knew I had saw Open Door Legal's blue sign over here, and I was like, I gotta go in here and see if they can help me. And I was relieved at just the human side of the organization.
I mean, it's very difficult, you know, me being someone who's formerly incarcerated and formerly in addiction, it's very unsafe for me to think of my life without a foundation. I would hate to say that I would have went back to the life, but that's a very strong possibility.
I'm able to smile in spite of the fact that I did lose my grandmother, but I'm not homeless. I'm still a San Francisco resident. I have my dignity, I have my pride, and I had support.
So the settlement, and now we are waiting on our dream home. We have a loan, we've been qualified for a loan, and you know, we're just finding the right house to line up with our budget. We're both gainfully employed. We're well, the family is well. We're hopeful, we're optimistic, and we're very grateful.
Okay, we want to invite to the stage Reg and Naj, please. Along with our founder, Adrian.
Hi everyone, I want to thank you so much for coming out tonight to celebrate 10 years of Access with us. I'm Adrian Churchinati, ODL's co-founder and executive director. You know, the prompt says 10 years ago I had no idea what the future of our org would look like, but I knew. We were called Bayview Hunters Point Community Legal, which is kind of a mouthful, maybe not good branding, but we wanted to know the community that we were there for them. Now that you've seen Naj and Reg's story, you know a little bit more about the importance of the work we do. They were kind enough to be here tonight with us and answer just a few more questions. We've got a Q&A, and you know, we spent all this time to bring the couches here, so we might as well sit on them. So thanks for being here. So first question is, prior to ODL, how difficult was it for you to find help?
Oh my goodness. We couldn't find help before Open Door Legal. We contacted a few attorneys. It sounds very similar to everyone else's story. We didn't have the money when attorneys returned the call, and some didn't even call us back.
Yeah, and for me, you know, I was relying on my sister's resources and her ability to connect with folks. I was just too overwhelmed with work and trying to figure out how to get through the grieving process. And she said, I found a place. And so that's how we ran into Open Door Legal.
So you guys have experienced the stat that Whitney mentioned earlier, which was 2/3 of people who try and find legal help will be unable to get any help.
Yes.
Yes.
What was your experience working with ODL like?
Well, if the smile isn't giving it away. Finding Open Door Legal was consoling It was grounding. I mean, that point in my life was one of the lowest points. And on top of that, to have to worry about how to win a legal case, and I have no legal background, was a huge task in front of me. But finding ODL and having Dine and Seal and just the human side that they offered, it wasn't just about the legality of my case. They understood, they made a connection with me, they empathized with what I was going through, they let me cry when I needed to. It was a real place that cared about me and my situation.
Yes, I refer to ODL as my oasis in the desert. It was a very difficult and dry process trying to figure out how to get through this situation, the loss of a family member, as well as being resource challenged and many of other challenges. And Open Door Legal was the only organization that was able to accept us where we were and to take on our situation and give us some hope in a situation that was hopeless. But we learned from our grandmother to be praying people, so we feel like it was divine intervention that led us to you and to Open Legal.
Thank you. So where do you think you'd be if ODL didn't exist? If the people here hadn't have made sort of sacrificial giving and work over the last 10 years to make this org happen?
Well, the trustee made it plain that for all sake and purposes that we would have been out on the streets, and we would have had to figure out what were going to do with the minimal amount of resources, and with the legal actions that were being taken against us, and we just had no one to turn to. So we would have been in a really desolate place had it have not been for Open Door Legal, a lot of prayer, and a lot of divine intervention.
Yes, definitely. Could you imagine trying to survive with $500 in San Francisco? I would have been homeless, hurt, bad, very bad.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming and sharing a little bit about your story with us. Yeah.
Thank you.
Scroll on. And thanks again, Reggie and Naj, for sharing your story. Ensuring families like yours get legal care is why we started Open Door Legal in the first place 10 years ago. And it's my honor now to share a little bit more about Virginia Taylor. I'm going to snap. Yeah. Our co-founder and legal services director. After 10 years of work, she will be moving on from staff. And I wanted to share a moment to honor her work, dedication, and her accomplishments. So I met Virginia in law school, as Brandon mentioned. We both took a class called, quote, rebellious lawyering, end quote. And in this class, we studied how lawyers have worked in social change movements and the best ways that lawyers could interface with community members. She liked to tease that I always talk too much in class, a kind of a loquacious person. But I had written a 40-page business plan on how to achieve universal access to justice, and I showed it to her. And she read it. And she even showed it to her supervisor at the time. She was interning at this org called the Eviction Defense Collaborative. And they told her it was a horrible idea and it would never work. But showing her independent spirit, she immediately came back to me and said, oh, this is a great idea, and I'd love to start it with you. So in 2013, we started the org together. The first few years were tough, more difficult than I could ever put into words. The need was overwhelming, and we were always short of money. I remember working together, sitting on the floor day in and day out, in rooms without heating. I remember both of us surviving on $15,000 a year. I remember working without a receptionist or any support staff, So guests would just kind of walk into the office and write up to us asking for help. I remember needing to hand shred all of our documents because we couldn't afford a shredder. I got very good, you know? I remember when I had to break up a fight that was occurring just outside the office and the times that gunshots rang outside. I remember meeting clients in a closet. We ended up clearing out the closet and renaming it the, quote, International Teleconference Center, just so we could make ourselves feel fancy. I remember how we plastered motivational posters on every square inch of the walls until someone came in and told us it didn't look professional. I remember, Virginia, when your client Alvin passed away, and I remember going to the funeral with you, and I want you to know it wasn't your fault. And we always had each other, and we always had the mission. And I know things change, but I'd like to tell you, Virginia, that your work and sacrifice have mattered, that everything you have done will forever be a part of us, and that I'll never forget what you've given to us. And thanks in large part to your tireless efforts, we've represented over 5 families on every block in Bayview. So here's the map. Every dot is the location of a family we've represented, families like Naj and Reg. And I believe that you, Virginia, are a big part of the reason why homelessness in Bayview has been cut in half since we started 10 years ago. So, on behalf of the people of San Francisco, I'm pleased to present you with Certificate of Honor, yes, for your work these past 10 years, signed by the Board of Supervisors. May you keep this as a memento of the lives you've changed. And one more thing. So we have decided to name the garden in the backyard of our Bayview office after you, in your honor. We're going to call it the Taylor Garden for Rebellious Lawyering. I hope that in years to come, you'll be able to coach new generations of public interest attorneys on what it means to be rebellious. Due to a snafu with our supplier, the plaque wasn't ready. But rest assured, is it in progress? And now, on behalf of a grateful staff, board, clients, and community, and city, would everyone join me in thanking Virginia for 10 years well spent?
Well, I'm already crying. Thank you, Adrian. That was extremely kind. Adrian, thank you so much for trusting me over these years, encouraging me and inspiring me these past 10 years. It's been an epic ride. Recently, my mother had a stroke, and Adrian, you sat beside me on the floor of my office while I sobbed. There seems to be a floor thing between the speeches. That meant the world to me. I care for you deeply and will always be nearby supporting you and ODL. I'd also like to thank my family for teaching me grit and resilience, to my parents for the first time in 10 years could not attend this gala. You are missed and deeply appreciated. To my husband and sister, thank you so much for listening to all my venting and strongly reminding me to be grateful for all that I have. I also want to extend my heartfelt thanks to all the clients, community members, donors, mentors, board members, and volunteers and staff who have supported ODL and me personally throughout this incredible journey. To all the legal program staff on my team, I hope that I have given you all the tools and podcast links that you need to continue harnessing your unique superpowers to provide access to justice. Your work makes families and individuals safer, healthier, and happier. In actuality, you save lives. You do. We have heard about it today. The org has changed San Francisco for the better and is poised to change the world. I'm proud to have been a founder, and I'm excited to become a donor. I believe. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Oh, Adrian? Oh, I was like, where'd you go? Thanks so much, Adrian and Virginia. We will not be the same without you, and we are so much better because of you. In light of 10 years of access, largely in part to Virginia's commitment and energy as co-founder, let's show the same commitment to universal access to legal services and support the next 10 years of clients. Go again to opendoorlegal.org/donate or Gala or, you know, we're just gonna say donate again. And then, yes, we're still trying to reach $350,000. Every dollar tonight represents a remarkable commitment to generosity on your part. We really couldn't be more grateful to partner together in this work. And I think we're just a little bit away from reaching our goal. That's what the size said. So let's do it. Let's help at least 175 families receive entirely free legal help tonight, yeah?
Right, that's right.
Yeah.
Well, I have some more numbers for you, Whitney.
Yeah.
So Reg and Naj's case was a little bit more complicated and took longer than our average. It involves not just an eviction, but extensive probate issues. To prevent Reggie and Najwa from becoming homeless, we spent just over $15,000. Over 2 years, our team invested into their case.
Yeah, and costs to the city for shelter, police, and medical services, if they had become homeless, is easily 4 times that every year. And because they have remained housed, they have been able to remain employed. Reggie works as a counselor, and Naj works as an organizer. Reggie even recently finished his PhD in education. Yes.
Right.
Amazing. Such an achievement. I have so many questions for you. And on top of saving the city money and ensuring that Naj and Reggie remain employed, our work directly resulted in new savings for them all, thanks to your generosity.
Thank you.
Amazing.
Okay, let's check back with our totalizer. Is it ready? I think it's ready.
Totalizer?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh.
Okay. Got $185,000, 468.63 cents.
Oh my gosh. That's a lot.
Come on, y'all.
Let's go. Let's tap it. I know. I'm sure
Can we
it's
up
just.
that some more?
Can we make it more? Oh my goodness, this is amazing. Thank you so much. We could not have done this without every single one of you here tonight. Thank you so much for your generosity. And Laura Turner, the Director of Development and Communications, who was up here earlier, who snuck up on here. Sneaky and beautiful. I don't know what's happening. She's coming back, so she has more to say.
Thank you guys all so much. This is not, from a logistical perspective, the way that anyone hopes the night will go, but technology, as I always say, is neutral and in the hands of some people an evil and in the hands of others a good. We have worn out our poor intern Liam's fingers entering pledges and gifts and donations that are coming in. So while I cannot show you the totalizer right now because he is literally still entering gifts, I can tell you that we have exceeded our goal when we add everything up
That's what I'm talking
of $350,000 tonight. So I want to thank you all. Look at Michelle.
There you go.
Michelle's enthusiasm is amazing. There was a time not long ago, Michelle, who was a client and our board member for 6 years, who recently rolled off, she was in a board meeting and we were talking with all of the board members, most of whom, like me, were raised to be respectable and not talk too much about things like money with other people. And Michelle, I'll never forget, got a little quiet and then really loud and said, I don't have time to be sitting around not talking about money because I know what you guys do and I know that it's needed. I don't have time to sort of be polite company at dinner and not ask for the resources that move this work forward, this good work that our team does. And it would be wonderful if we lived in a world where we didn't need to talk about money or ask for money, where no one needed to do that, and that's not the world we live in, and each one of you are a really beautiful part tonight of making the world a better, like truly better place. And I just can't thank you enough. So systems will come and go, systems will be used badly and well, and we get to be a small part tonight of doing something right and doing something good, talking about impolite things and standing up, and I'm so thankful. Yeah, so Whitney and Akika are gonna lead us in a little ritual we like to do. Keep your eye up, we'll update the totalizer over the next half hour so Liam can recover. He's just, there you go, see?
There you go, come on.
It's coming through. He's a sweetheart who lives outside Seattle and is doing this for us. Whitney and Akika, will you lead us in our celebration tonight? Thank you.
Absolutely. All right. So on your tables, you have these beautiful shiny things. They're confetti wands. So what you need to do, there's a little plastic thing at the end. You got to pop it off with your little fingies. Again, I'm so sorry I said that out loud. And then, okay, and then you're just going to, let's do it. Protect your food and your eyes. Woo! Yeah! Woohoo! We did it! Yeah! Ooh, beautiful. Look at that.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining us. We'd like to give special thanks to SOMARTS for having us.
Woo!
Kieran Swan, the live artist. OSFIELD Creative in Jolie Park,
Woo!
the videographers. Samuel PIEHLER composed the music for us, and animation was done by Danielle, CHENETTE, Avi JONSAY, and SAVERA KHALID.
Yes, our catering company was Jess Kolaski, and much of our wine was donated from Eco Terreno Wines, Ed Kurtzman with Sandler Wine Company, and Regina Bustamante with Sosi Wines. Thank you so much again to our sponsors who generously helped fund the night and our work. Thank you so much for our staff and team that made this night possible and allowed for an incredible situation and celebration. Thank you also, Liam, for typing furiously, and we're looking forward to 10 more years. Thanks so much. Good night.